What is going on, Jet fans? Matt O'Leary back with another episode of Just Jets. Today we are getting into a training camp story, the fact that the New York Jets will be facing a rookie quarterback in their first preseason game on Saturday, and we will be answering your voicemails. A little under the weather today, so the voice doesn't sound great. My apologies. Thank you so much for sticking with me. Been crazy busy the last, few months really, but I think it's finally caught up to me a little bit. So apologies on the voice, but thank you so much again for hanging out with me on this one. So we're going to start off with Tyron Smith and what I think is a little bit of an overreaction from some people. Now, Tyron Smith, veteran, been with the Dallas Cowboys for a very, very long time. Multiple Pro Bowls, multiple All-Pros. The issue with Tyron Smith is injury history. He hasn't had a healthy season, a fully healthy season, in nearly a decade. It's been a very, very long time since that's been the case. Since 2016 onward, he has missed a handful of games each year, and the Jets signed him with that understanding. Their contingency plan was go draft one of the best pass blockers in the draft class in Lofi, 11th overall. That's their contingency plan for Tyron Smith. So, moral of the story, they have an injury-prone left tackle, but when healthy, he is at an elite of the elite level. So, but they have a good contingency plan this year. We have to give that caveat, right? So, early on, or earlier in the week, I guess technically at the end of last week and then going into early this week, Tyron Smith didn't practice for back-to-back practices. Now, he is not someone who practices every single day. Normally, he is kind of on a pitch count, so to speak, so that is relatively normal. But today, or yesterday, when I'm recording this, but by the time you're listening to this, yesterday, Tyron Smith was back on the field, but he did not practice in the team stuff when it was 7-on-7 or 11-on-11, like those kind of situations. Tyron Smith was not out there with the first team. We had people on the beat reporters saying that it was troublesome that Tyron Smith was not out there for the New York Jets on August the 6th. Why is my question? What do you mean it's troublesome? After practice today, Robert Saleh spoke and said, yeah, Tyron Smith was out for the last couple of days with tightness. We're bringing him back slowly. So he didn't participate in the team stuff. Did you not know what you were getting when the Jets signed Tyron Smith? Did you watch him in Dallas the last few years? Specifically last year, they had him on a schedule. He ended up playing, I believe it was 13 games. He never practiced during the week. He's going to be, I guarantee you, on pretty much every single practice week, he's going to be listed as a limited participant. Every single week, even in weeks where he plays. At 33 years old, and after this many injuries in his career, he's not going to be a full participant every single day. Where is the outrage on this coming from? What do you mean that it's troublesome that Tyron Smith didn't do with the team activities today? I ask, what was the expectation? If your thought was Tyron Smith is going to practice every single day and play 17 games this year, I think then I got a bridge to sell you, man. Like, whoa. That's not what you're going to get at this point in his career. I'm sorry if that's your hope or expectation. It's just very unrealistic. It's not a realistic ask for Tyron Smith. And there's a major benefit to this also that we are forgetting that is not being mentioned. Lofi, who was the number 11 overall pick, is getting an opportunity to play with the ones. And guess what? He's been okay. Are there days where he gets beat? Yes. The Jets have a really good defensive line. Very good at defensive line. And they're going to have a very strong defense. For a young pup like Lofi, there are going to be days where he struggles. And that's fine. But him getting reps is a major plus for the New York Jets. So it's a twofold benefit. One, they're doing everything in their power to preserve Tyron Smith for as many games as they can get out of him this year on a 1-year deal. And they're also getting their young rookie left tackle up to speed. If anything, this is a win-win. This is not troublesome. This is the best case scenario that they have someone like this to plug in this circumstance. You don't have to rely on Max Mitchell or Billy Turner last year. You have someone significantly better who needs the reps just as bad, if not more, not just as badly. Tyron Smith doesn't need the reps, frankly. Do you know who does? Olu Fashanu. And he is getting those reps. That, my friends, is a good thing. Now, the second thing I wanted to get into in the episode was that Jaden Daniels will be playing for the Washington Commanders in the game on Saturday. The Jets' first preseason game is just mere days away on Saturday, and they will be facing the number 2 overall pick in Jaden Daniels. He is going to get his reps. Caleb Williams did not play in the Hall of Fame game, but the New York Jets will be facing the number 2 pick in Jaden Daniels. So what does that mean for the Jets? Well, they're not going to probably play a lot of starters, but something that I wanted to mention, or the first thing I thought of for poor Jaden Daniels here is what a difficult task for the young quarterback in his first game action. Now, again, preseason, I get it, but this is his first game action against another team. And this Jets defense, specifically last year, destroyed young quarterbacks. I'm talking first and second year quarterbacks last year. They absolutely destroyed them. Here's some numbers off the top of my head from last year. Tommy DeVito, when he came in relief of Tyrod Taylor in the game against the Giants, went 2 of 7 passing for -1 yards. No touchdowns, no interceptions, a 39.6 rating. He had negative passing yards after relieving Tyrod Taylor. Aiden O'Connell. Okay, a couple weeks later, right? You have to go up against Aiden O'Connell. Oh, Aiden O'Connor. Whatever. Moral of the story. I was right. 16 of 27, 153 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 72 rating. Did pretty good on that one also. Kept them under 155 passing yards on 27 attempts and a rating below 75. How about Desmond Ridder? 12 of 27, 121 passing yards, a touchdown, no picks, 70.1 rating. Had a completion percentage under 50%. CJ Stroud, the rookie of the year last year, one of the best young quarterbacks to come into the league and dominate right away. Really like what I've seen out of CJ Stroud. I liked him coming out of Ohio State, and he's put up big numbers in year 1. High expectations for the Texans this year. He went 10 of 23 for 91 yards, no touchdowns, no picks, and a 54.8 rating. 10 of 23, less than 50% completion percentage. Are you noticing a trend here? Sam Howell, second-year starter last year for Washington. 6 of 22. This is the most, I think Sam Howell's might be the most hilarious stat line of them all. 6 of 22 for 56 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. This is not a typo, 1.7 passer rating. 1.7. Wow. Bailey Zappi, last game of the year, 12 of 30, 88 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks, a 20.1 rating. Good luck. Good luck, Jaden Daniels. Now I know there's not going to be any Sauce Gardner, Quinnen Williams, CJ Mosley, Quincy Williams, the whole thing. But if you've been following along with the Jets this training camp, one of the stories is just how deep this Jets defense has been. Jamien Sherwood's been one of the Jets' best defensive players. He's their third linebacker. You also, Chaz Surratt gets talked up a ton. We're going to see Quantez Stiggers get a lot of action. Another young rookie corner who's played really good football. Will McDonald, the first-round pick from a year ago, is going to get a nice long run in these preseason games as well. So, yeah, it's not going to be the big name guys. No Hassan Reddick. More on that later, I'm sure. But still, this is a really, really deep defense. And good luck to Jaden Daniels on this one. I will say the Jets in years gone by have struggled to an extent against quarterbacks who can run. So Jaden Daniels might be able to show off his athleticism in the run game against this Jets defense, and that would be something that I'd be curious about. I know some Jet fans are concerned about the Jets' run defense in general, but specifically against rushing quarterbacks, I'm curious to see how that plays out. That might be something that goes into Jaden Daniels' favor here a little bit. Let's do voicemails. We have a few that we're going to get into today, starting off with Max calling in from New Jersey. He wants to talk about whether this year is truly Super Bowl or bust for the Jets.
This is Max Atoy from home New Jersey, and I was just on a call-in show by Long Beach Show Jets 30 minutes ago. Here are some interesting points that we discussed in the call-in show. We had a great discussion. So first is that some fans want the Jets for Super Bowl or bust. Completely disagree with that. I think the Jets, my expectation is that the Jets should make the playoffs, and if we don't make the playoffs, we have to have a playoff mandate, and if we don't make the playoffs, Salah and Joe Douglas are gonna get fired. Second point was about Alan Lazard. Hopefully, there have been reports that Alan Lazard looks good in camp. Hopefully Alan Lazard improves, because he was terrible last year. He had 2 touchdowns, and he had the lazy route running, and then my third interesting point was talking about Will McDonald, my expectations for Will McDonald, and I hope he has a 5-sack season. Because I was at the draft party last year, and I didn't like the Will McDonald pick. Will McDonald was around the second round on the PFF board, but hopefully as long as he has 7-8 sacks, then I'm fine. But if he doesn't, I think the Jets made a mistake passing on JSN. What's your thoughts on this and go Jets?
Yeah, so a few things. One, I agree with you. I'm not Super Bowl or bust either. I think it would be nice to win the Super Bowl. I very much so want the Jets to win the Super Bowl this year. But my hope or my thought is that the Jets should be a team that makes the playoffs and wins at least a playoff game. I understand the playoff mandate, and it starts there. But there's an eye test to it. If the Jets are 9-8, they win the 7th seed and get bounced by Baltimore or Cincy, whoever in the first round. Is that really, are we going to victory lap that? I won't. I think I'd be a little bit disappointed. Now, on the flip side of that, if the Jets win the division, they play wild card weekend at home and then go on the road the following week and lose in Kansas City, am I going to say this is an abject failure of a season? I also can't say that either. So Super Bowl or bust is a bit extreme for me, but I do think that they need to make the playoffs and at least make a little noise, make a push on a playoff run. The next thing, Alan Lazard, I really hope that Lazard is just a functional receiver for the Jets this year. I really do. That would be, I would consider that a major, major win if Lazard is, again, just even an adequate wide receiver. I'm not talking the best wide receiver in football, but can you be a functional 3rd or 4th option here for the New York Jets? That's all I'm asking. I don't think it's asking too much. And then for the last part, look, I'm not going to tell you that I was rooting for Will McDonald to be the pick for them a year ago in the first round, but I do think that he's someone who could be a good player in this league. I think he has a skill set that is beneficial to what the Jets are looking for. He's a quick, bendy edge rusher who, in a pass rushing situation, should be able to give you, I would say, 7+ sacks in a 40 to 45% of snaps kind of basis, like what Bryce Huff was before the 2023 season. We know, how much he popped off in the bigger role this past year, but I'm talking the 22 and 2021 version of what Bryce Huff was for this Jets defense. I think that's what Will McDonald could be with a touch more playing time, maybe. I think it was 19% of snaps last year, and Bryce Huff, for some of them here, let me see if I can pull it up. Bryce Huff stats. He last year was double digits. He had 10 sacks, playing 42% of snaps. But in 2021, he played 51% of snaps, and then the year prior he played 20% of snaps. 20 is too low, but can you split the difference? Can we be around 40? 40% of snaps and have 7 sacks. I think that's kind of my thought for Will McDonald this year. Let's go out to Travis. He's calling in from Ohio, and let's see what he's got.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, Travis.
Travis from Ohio. Hey, congrats on the move.
Thank you.
It sucks. I only had to do it a couple of times and hated each one. Yet volunteered to help out any other brother that would have to move, and I'm not gonna drive out there to New York.
No, I don't blame you.
Just help you move for 2 weeks. I love you, like the brother I never had, but not gonna happen. Anyway, glad it's gonna be great, and even though you have that Michigan loving future in-law, anywho, just wanted to say, reiterate that we do have the most talented roster that I've ever seen. The Jets have healthy on paper, okay, because they haven't hit the field yet. MetLife sucks.
It does.
And we do have to play moneyball, though. And Joe has, I'm a Joe apologist, but he has to lock these guys up. Michael Carter isn't done. Reddick isn't even done.
Nope.
And he traded for him. You know, I mean, he's going to show up because he has to.
At some point.
But we got to start playing some money ball here before contracts escalate, and we have to pay Justin Jefferson prices for Garrett Wilson and stuff like that. So anyway, I just want to see that happen. And anyway, love you, bro. Congrats on everything, and go Jets. Bye.
Thank you. Much appreciated. As Travis called, by the way, I don't know if you guys heard or can hear it in the background. There's a pretty rough thunder and lightning storm going on outside. A little ominous, right as Travis called. So I want a few things. One, appreciate you, Travis, always. No expectation for you to come out here to Long Island to help with the move. That was tough. I was joking with my fiance, and I was saying, I was like, Taylor, this is like, I hope you like this house, because this is it. Like, I don't want to do this again. And that was only moving like essentially like Taylor's room and my room at home. It's not like we lived together somewhere else and like packed up a kitchen, a dining room, a bed, like the whole thing, and bedroom and all that, and then moved it to this new place. So I can't imagine people and families moving. Oh my goodness. So I hope this is it on that. And for your Jets comment on, Hassan Reddick and all those, I think Joe Douglas, you're right. I think he does have to get something done with Reddick, number one. Michael Carter seems like the easy answer for the extension, the choice between Carter and DJ Reed. I love DJ Reed. I think he's been a really, really great Jet, but unfortunately in football, you have to make a lot of these tough decisions. And for him, he's going to be 29 years old this year, and he's probably going to get paid cornerback one money from somewhere on the open market. And I don't think the Jets could afford to do that because, as you mentioned, Sauce Gardner do a new contract soon. Garrett Wilson, what do you do with Breece Hall? Do you give him the extension? Do you just ride it out and then franchise tag him and then let him walk after? Like, all these decisions that you have to make, it's not easy, but you're right. Like, something, they got to get moving a little bit on some of these things. A little bit more urgency. There we go. Finally, I couldn't think of the word. Urgency was the word that I was trying to come up with. It's making me a touch on the nervous side. Let's go to Peter up next, calling from the beautiful Hudson Valley, who wants to talk depth chart.
Hey, Matt. here from up in the beautiful Hudson Valley, calling in on this Monday afternoon and seeing your latest episode of Big Apple Blitz.
Thank
just
you.
Now. Sorry, I wasn't available earlier to talk to you guys. A little busy at work, but wanted to comment on. It looks like the Jets have now released on their website their first official depth chart for this season. And I'm sure you'll release a video on this as well, but I just wanted to go over a couple of things that I think are surprises already that I'm looking at. On the offensive side, obviously Alan Lazard starting at the moment because Mike Williams is, not playing, not a big shot. But right behind him at wide receiver 2 is Irv Charles, and then Brown, as opposed to Bradley's been the one we've been hearing more about and been flashing. So that's a little bit of a surprise. And also right behind Garrett Wilson, number 2, is Malik Taylor. So a little bit of a surprise on the wide receiver front as to who's, right behind the starters. I keep forgetting that the Jets, since they don't really have a fullback, list 2 tight ends, so they have both Conklin and Ruckert as starters, and then Yeboah and Kuntz behind them. So it's not too much of a surprise there. But the right tackle surprise, Morgan Moses, and then behind him is Max Mitchell, and then Carter Warren. So I'm wondering if Max Mitchell has been showing out more in camp so far than even Carter Warren has. That's surprising, but hopefully both of them have good bounce-back years. Also, a slight surprise is that behind Pittman is both Glasser and Newman as the 2 backup centers.
Yeah.
Schweitzer is listed as the backup right guard to Barrett Tucker, even though obviously he'd play center first if anything happened to Pittman. On the other side of the ball, not too many surprises on the defense. Stigger's right behind Sauce Gardner, and then JVC after him. Isaiah Oliver right behind Tony Adams at free safety. So nothing big there. Obviously, Michael Clemens will get bumped back once Hassan Reddick reports. But the other one is both kick return and punt return are basically the same depth chart. And behind Xavier Gibson first is Isaiah Davis.
Right. And
then Malachi Corley. I think they both are obviously going to get a lot of reps in the preseason with the new kickoff rule, so we'll see. That could change. But Isaiah Davis returning kickoffs could be a fun little bowling ball running through the defenses. So just let me know your thoughts on any of the surprises so far in the current Jets' first release of the depth chart. And as always, go Jets.
Thank you so much, Peter, for checking in with us and calling in. Just going in reverse order, kind of what you just left off with. Isaiah Davis being second in command is very funny because in kickoff rules of old, think of all the kick returners in not just Jets history, but around the league. Devin Hester, just straight up speed. Dante Hall, straight up speed. Leon Washington, straight up speed. Brad Smith was a little taller and a little lanky, but he had that speed as well. Maybe not to the extent of those other 2 guys, but Isaiah Davis, it would almost be like putting Lamont Jordan back there to return kicks and punts. Did I just age myself a little bit making a Lamont Jordan reference here? So that one I definitely thought was interesting. Malik Taylor being second string, he's had a good camp though, and the Jets are going to have to make some very tough decisions. Brownlee, I think, is going to end up being higher on the depth chart than where he's listed. He's technically the 3rd string behind Alan Lazard and Irv Charles. I think Brownlee has a good shot to make this team. And Mike Williams is pretty far back too, but that's because of injury. That's not has anything to do with play. But I think, for me, biggest, not necessarily a surprise based on what we've heard, but biggest red flag might be how buried Izzy Abanikanda is. So there's 2 rookies in front of him, Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis, and not that I am saying that Izzy has been better than either of those 2 guys through training camp. I don't think that's the case. I think the order that they have them in is correct at Hall, Allen, Davis, Abanikanda. But in depth charts gone by over the years, usually the rookies are buried on these depth charts. 2022, Sauce Gardner and Bryce Hall were splitting a starting slot. Garrett Wilson was on the second team. I believe, was it Breece Hall behind Tevin Coleman? There was a bunch of ones like that. It's really not uncommon to see these things at the time. Bryce Huff was the 3rd string edge last year at this time. Joe Tippmann was the third string center at this time a year ago. So seeing someone who's a vet, technically in year two, right, and Izzy being behind those two, I don't think bodes well for his chances, and also him not being one of the 5 guys that were mentioned for kickoff returner. I would say also probably not great. Let's close with PG calling in from Long Island and hear what he has to say.
Hello, Matt O'Leary. PG from Long Island here. A couple things. One, good job yesterday with Boyd Green.
Thank you.
I enjoyed that. Number 2 is, you were right last week. The Jets did not have all the leverage with Hassan Reddick. So hyperbole on my part. They gave up a third-round pick. Hassan Reddick obviously added to that roster. It makes the Jets a better team. I still think they have more leverage, but certainly not all of it. And honestly, I'm disappointed, a little surprised, and almost a little bit concerned that he hasn't shown up for camp yet. Other thing I want to talk about is the slow starts with Robert Saleh. And, Yogi Berra has a famous quote, baseball is 90% mental, and the other 50% is physical.
Yep.
Well, you can probably apply that 90% to any sports. And you look at a guy like Alan Lazard, who really checked out last year, right? And part of the reason he did that, or maybe all of the reason, was because it was Zach Wilson as the quarterback. And, you had Zach Wilson, you had lesser quarterbacks behind him, and he just couldn't mentally get prepared. And to a lesser extent, if you apply that to the entire team, and they show up for a game, they see the first guy off the bus on the other team, and then they're like, our quarterback is Zach Wilson. Maybe take something out of him. Zach Wilson is not a good quarterback. He did not practice well. I grew for the kid. Hopefully he becomes an NFL quarterback. But let's face it, he's stunk for the Jets. And take something out of you. I've been in sales my whole life. And, you get your commission cut, it affects you. And, you can't help it. You show up to work, you act professional, but it's still taking something out of you. So I'm wondering if maybe with Aaron Rodgers as the quarterback, professional, great leader, a Hall of Fame quarterback, if they show up, if that problem goes away, because now they come in mentally prepared and psyched for the game and the team that they have. Anyway, that's my thoughts. Wondering what you think about that. And as always, Matt O'Leary, go Jets.
Thank you so much, PG. I agree. I think the mental aspect plays a really big factor in performance. We saw it last year with Lazard, and I think we're seeing it a little bit with Joe Tippmann and his poor snaps. Now, they improved yesterday, which is great, but I think it's too much thinking that gets you in those spots. And like overthinking, that's when little mistakes happen, like drops or high snaps, things like that. The major issues are, talent related most often than not, but a slight lack of focus is when you get some of the, like I said, either drops or the high snaps or missed assignment, whatever it may be. And the mental side of it is very, very tough and underrated. You have to have the right mindset to be a successful athlete. I love that Yogi Berra quote. And ironically, yesterday when I was on with Jake Asman, I used the Yogi Berra quote to describe the Hassan Reddick situation. I said it's getting late early these days. So I love that one. Obviously, big baseball fan, and I grew up playing baseball. I didn't grow up as a football player, but grew up playing baseball. My dad coached me, and that was something that he said a lot. We got a lot of Yogiisms thrown our way over the years. So very not surprised by that one. For Reddick, that was a loud one. You guys definitely heard that one on the recording. That was loud. For Reddick, I would very much so like for him to report before the end of the preseason. I think that would give him enough time to get ramped up. I know there's been examples of guys coming in after week 1, coming in and having success. Chris Jones last year is a big example of that. Darrelle Revis signed a week before the regular season began, and he had a great year in 2010. I'm getting tired of it. I want this situation figured out. Not that Reddick's was going to play this week against Washington, but still would have been nice to have him in there getting ramped up. Guys, that's going to do it for me in this episode. I am Matt O'Leary. Subscribe if you're new. I'll catch you next time.